Hello guys, this is me, Mighty the Armadillo here, and I am back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, as always. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Wario Land 3 for the Game Boy Color. So, last time we basically just managed to explore through these different levels, and while at it though, that thankfully, if you do manage to press the start button by the way, you can able to actually double check on the actual treasure lists that you've actually collected throughout the whole game. So, for instance, remember in the last video, I believe I actually did manage to collect about 14 treasures out of 100 as you see. So because of that, yeah, we've only barely got started for this point. So yeah, today for this episode is the fact that we are about to be hitting back onto the previous levels, and eventually we're able to explore some new levels every once in a while. So because of that, yeah, let's head back into the Pool of Rain, and because of that, now we've actually access to the actual beanstalk, or the actual, like, a vine, and basically that allows me to able to actually go into this higher route of this entire level. So because of that, yeah, not much just to speak of, apart from the fact that, well, it's also worth importing though, is the fact that, well, despite the fact that usually I just always get knocked back most of the time, which that's the only nitpicking I have with this sometimes, is that, of course, the knockback will obviously be able to screw you up, especially noticeable if you think you're about to be trying to go and climb all the way up to the top, and then basically that every once in a while, if you get hit by the enemy encounter like that, sometimes though, that you might as well easily get yourselves knocked back, and because of that though, it's one of those retro video games kind of stuff. So because of that though, nothing new or nothing special about that particular knockback thing, but it knows what it stands out to be. So yeah, today's day is of course the 7th of September today, in this case in 2021, and it looks like that recently that Sonic Colors Ultimate for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch, and Epic Store on the PC has recently came out today. So because of that though, yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts about the forms about the fact that, in fact, leave it on the comments below for the question of the day. What do you think about the forms of your first impressions on Sonic Colors Ultimate when it finally came out on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and of course Nintendo Switch? Although some people might able to actually just go ahead and say that the PS4 version and the Xbox One version, and even a PlayStation 5, you know, backwards compatibility mode, and especially noticeable with the forms of Xbox Series X versions as well, might be the best version along with the PC version, because the PC version does allow you to able to actually access to mods, which they're really hoping they'll do that. Especially noticeable that for the first time ever for the PC gamers, they can now finally experience Sonic Colors for reals. So yeah, you probably get the idea about that. Oh yeah, here's a new level that we're going to be heading to right now, which appears to be Tower of Revival. And what happens is though, is the fact that since we actually did collected 2 different rings, and basically that we can able to combine those 2 rings to able to combine them together, and this will actually create this particular level. So because of that, yeah, and by the way, you have to do is like, well, I think suffice to say, I think we should probably do like 5 playthroughs in each level, mainly because of how the fact that, well, for instance, as you noticed, that we ended up on the new level, which is of course Tower of Revival. And by the way, in order to actually just to activate all the treasures, although one thing I forgot to mention is the fact that you can only activate that one particular treasure chest per run. And because of that though, unlike in the, although it's just like in the forms of Super Mario 64, basically that once you complete the level, you obviously get, go all the way back to the hub world or the world map. And as a result though, you have to do the entire level again while trying to able to do a different objective or a different key to obtain in this game's case. So yeah, that might be some consumption worth knowing for. But thankfully this is on the Game Boy Color, so this means you can able to play this game on the go, minus the forms of the backlit light screen. Although thankfully if you ever play this on the Game Boy Advance SP, this means that you don't need to worry about the forms of somewhat of a somewhat hard to see contrast lighting. So because of that though, at least that's something I suppose. Especially noticeable, you can either play this on the Game Boy player as well, or even the 3DS eShop re-release. Because yes, much like Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3, and also Wario Land 2, this game also came out on the 3DS on the Virtual Console lineup, and because of that though, there was actually another alternative way for able to actually play the game. In fact, for my first experience with this game in particular, it was actually kind of mixed at first glance, but then as I said this before, I first experienced this on the 3DS eShop version, and I enjoyed it for quite a bit. Even then though, that's I'll point it out whenever we get into the later portion of the game so far. So, and as you can tell, before you start the actual level up, basically there was actually a great treasure chest at the very start of the level. So I was like, okay, fair enough, but we still need to be able to obtain the grey key in order to progress. So, and as you can see, we actually got ourselves a bit of a flippers, as far as I'm aware. And this means is that you can now finally swim, which, if you notice, that we can't swim normally, so we have to able to complete the great chest in Tower of Revival in order to able to actually get the swimming ability. So because of that, things you normally did do in the forms of Wario Land 2 from the start, but you do need to unlock it in this game. So, yeah, that's something worth noting for. And of course, we can either go back onto the big bridge, or we can head back onto the Pool of Rain. Now, I'm going to be doing the big bridge next, so just because, wow, I thought to myself I might as well do that, and plus we haven't exactly seen this particular stage in daytime, so we figure we might as well be able to do that, because we've already seen this in nighttime, but now it's daytime now. So because of that though, hopefully we would be able to, well, do some more exploration. So, and of course if you manage to get bumped into this little fishies right there, and as I said before, ever since the last video, basically you knock all the way back to the very beginning, so you don't want to let that happen. So, and of course we can now able to actually perform a ground pound to able to break that particular block as you saw, and because of that though, we can now able to actually swim in the actual underwater. So, yeah, pretty much exactly like how you think of the forms of, you know, in Wario Land 2, except the fact, as I said earlier, that you need to unlock it now. So because of that though, definitely a little bit of a weird inclusion to that particular method, but aside from that, let's just get ourselves pushed over by, you know, these little chili teddy bears. Well, I would say chili teddy bears because of the forms of that, you know, sending us a snowflake at us, which I'm guessing is like the replacement by the snowman looking creatures or the enemies from the likes of the second game, I'm sure enough. But anyways, and also as you noticed, I've managed to got the red key, and the red chest is nearby. So because of that though, not too far and not too shabby for the most part. Even though some of these treasures might actually be kind of short to complete, whilst most of them though might actually took a bit while to able to finish up with those specific stuff, I must admit. Okay, so now we got ourselves the second crayon, because I think we've already got the first crayon, and this will actually able to give the actual boulder rock part some bit of color, which we'll point it out until whatever we get into later on throughout the majority of this Let's Play. So because of that though, we'll save it up for later. So here we go, back onto the Pool of Rain, and because we can now able to finally swim in the actual water, or the actual Pool of Rain, or anything else like that. So this meaning about the fact that we can obviously now explore more places. In addition to that, you could also try your best to able to actually decide to able to go after those music coins, which, I must be honest here, I think I should probably save those for last once I, again, finish the main game first. So, and if we go over here, this is where the green key was. So, and I get the feeling that we might stumble across the next boss fight, because I've sort of recognized this particular location, but hopefully though, we would be able to actually stumble across into it once we bypass these little, you know, these little rat pits and stuff like that. So, yeah, let's enter this door over here, and bash those little blocks, even though I've only bashed one of them. And yep, there's the next boss, which appears to be by the forms of, well, if I can recall that correctly, Wolverine Boss. So, and right from the bat though, I instantly got chucked out. So yeah, as I mentioned this before, thankfully you don't die in the actual boss fights. You do get knocked out on the other hand. So, however, there's one particular boss fight, it will able to kill you, but we'll save that up until whenever we get to the end of this playthrough. So because of that though, not going to spoil things majorly though. And I will say though, is the fact that the third boss, Wolverine Boss fight, is by far the hardest boss fight in the game. just in my opinion, just because, well, as you notice, taking notes from the actual boss fight, from the sake of Sonic Mania Metal Sonic boss fight, and basically what that means is the fact that we need to able to actually let these enemies, like, you know, these red-like enemies, manage to pop out this little, pokey, or in this case, the spiny egg, and basically, you're gonna have to able to actually, like, punch them, and then basically try to reflect it back at the Wolverine. However, here's the trickiest part about this boss, and that is the fact that, well, if you mess up once, you have to do the entire boss fight all over again. And plus, not to mention though, is the fact that, well, you have to avoid this a lot of stuff. And don't even get me started on this last phase, right there. Although, I somehow managed to get pretty lucky at the end, just because, well, thankfully it only took me 2 attempts. Because even then though, if you're not careful enough when it comes to likely trying to dodge that specific attack at the end, well, you're probably gonna able to waste your time. And plus, because of that though, I think this is definitely one of the hardest fights in the game. At least as far as to me though anyway, so... Alright, so now we got ourselves the fan, so that means we can now able to actually just to use this for, well, just try to use it on anywhere else. Well, to be more specifically, just trying to dust off or just blow off the next portion, and I think that'll lead us to the east portion, such as, for instance, we can only experience one level on that particular level, which appears to be by the forms of the Saccharine Swamp. So, we'll investigate there next. So, and apparently we ended up in nighttime immediately, so we can expect this much for the sake of the forms of that specific matter. Although, there was actually that one particular treasure item that will be coming handy, until specifically later on, which we'll point it out later on though. So, from now on, we've managed able to obtain the grey key from the bottom of the level, so we can able to actually just now focusing on, you know, obtain the great chest now. So because of that, we'll just go ahead and deal with, you know, even more platforming, in addition to the forms of hanging on to these little zipline looking objects and stuff like that. So, at least as far as I can usually try to able to describe it. So, anyways, let's roll down here, and we instantly finish the level. So, but again, we have not exactly 100% everything in this stage yet, just because obviously we still need to obtain, you know, every treasure, and especially noticeable with these music coins, which again, we'll save those for last. So, as far as the forms of trying to able to do, like, I will classify for able to do the, you know, post commentary for able to doing that specific stuff, because, well, obviously you guys should know. So, anyway, so now we've somehow activated some sort of like a flute, and basically that'll cause these little chamber snakes manage to somehow awakened. And I think it only activates within 3 levels, such as the grasslands, as well as the volcano's base, and the peaceful village. So we can now able to head back into those levels now. But of course, first things first though, is the fact that we need to take care of the forms of actually, kind of think about it, let me take care of the forms of the grasslands first, because I'm somewhat new to it. So because of that, yeah, we can able to get this started. Oh, and by the way, something's worth mentioning is the fact that I was expecting that usually for that particular recording setup when it comes to Wario Land 3, for this point in time, it gives me a lot of pain to able to actually do a lot of recording sessions. Mainly due to the fact that I've somehow technically already done those particular parts back then, but for whatever reason, I forgot to save my game. So because of that though, or maybe it's probably because it has been like, wow, quite a few days since I actually did manage to last touch this game, since last Thursday on the 2nd of September. But regardless of everything else though, I think I should be like, actually, to be honest with you, there's not much else I can talk about. So, either way, though. Oh, and another thing is worth noting for this point, too, is the fact that, potentially speaking, is the fact that, well, as far as the actual, like, well, we'll point it out whenever we get into, like, the later portion of the video. Well, I have no idea what I'm truly saying for this point right now, because, well, anyway. So now we got ourselves the green key, which, if you go swim underneath for that particular section as I went to, that basically I can able to actually open up the green chest and all that stuff. And it feels like between, the pool of rain, along with, the vast plain, And heck, even with the forms of, let's just say, the grasslands, we've pretty much almost done with those worlds. Because we only got, a blue treasure chest left, and that'll be pretty much about it for the sake of, like, completing, those specific, treasure chests in, particular levels and such. So, I keep on screwing things up for that segment right there. Especially it doesn't help about the fact that, well, luckily for me, that, for those of you who ever watched the finale part of Wario Land 2, as far as what Mexi has already mentioned about, that is that, yes, I'm still able to actually going to be using my, DualShock 4 controller for my Game Boy, emulator, which, let me tell you, it does really help, especially noticeable how the fact that if you're having struggling with, you know, with the forms of the returning annoying, jump right, jump, crouch right, jump, kind of problem, that, sometimes that Mexi always seems to have that issue, since during the forms of in Wario Land 2 Let's Play, in, the previous parts anyway, but, aside from all that stuff, though, that, I think that's one of my lessons has been learned, so, or one of our lessons has been learned, so, anyway, so let's get into this golf segment again. In this case, I'm still not a big fan of these particular moments like this. I know some people seem to be able to enjoy these segments, but not for me, honestly, just because I always found it a bit, not only kind of, like, difficult, but also kind of luck-based, too, because it's really depending on timing, though. But thankfully, I managed to do this on the first try. So, at least, thankfully, that we actually stumbled across the 5-par course, so, yeah, that's sure it's something. So, now we've actually done with that, and I get the feeling we do need to be able to find, a green key somewhere, which, fundamentally, is just right down there, so, and also I get the feeling that we might able to stumble across another new transformation that we'll stumble across into, but I think I'll save that until the next videos, or anything else like that. So, it might take a while though, it could take a while, especially noticeable how the fact that, well, generally speaking, it's just the fact that we've barely just managed to able to got started with this game, so because of that, is this where the green chest is? Yes, it is. So, thankfully I did manage to aim for the green chest first, as opposed to, the red chest. Even though it's entirely up to me, so even then though, sometimes, if I was able to try to explore certain places, even though it does require specific, requirements to able to complete certain stuff, but, potentially speaking, that's as far as I can wager, so... Anyways, let's head back into this particular stage again, except now we need to aim for the red chest, so... I think the red chest is gonna be somewhat, subpar with the forms of, well, to be more specifically with, the green chest in mind. So, because of that, though, hopefully we'll try to find that, so... But anyway, another thing it's worth noting for is the fact that, obviously, since, yesterday, that some toy sales already did manage to go back into Banjo-Tooie recently yesterday, and, so far so good for them, they, well, pretty much gotten some progression for the sake of the forms of Banjo-Tooie, even though it might take a while to get used to with the forms of the actual, you know, a lot of exploration, especially noticeable with a lot of collectibles to be found in that game, specifically, you know, with the forms of the returning Jiggies, and especially noticeable with the actual, Jinjos, and all the other stuff, but regardless of everything else, though, that's as far as I can usually try to explain about this for the most part, so... And what's also kind of annoying for this point today, though, is the fact that I swear my computer always attempted to lag while I was trying to do some more commentary, which it did manage to happen most of the time, which is always kind of way too inconsistent, I'm telling you. It's way too inconsistent, so... Anyways, let's jump over these little, spiky little objects, because if you dare touch those spiky objects, you basically get yourselves a knockback, too. Oh, and by the way, with these particular, chamber snakes that we've somehow awakened them, if they manage to able to actually just utilize the flamethrower, or just potentially trying to use the fire breath on you, basically, you're able to actually turn into the, well, flammable Wario. So, basically, you know, walking back and forth until you become, you know, fire, or flammable, or flame Wario, whatever you to be more precise with, so... Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of emphasis on back and forth between different sections, whenever you're trying to able to, like, obtain certain treasure chests and all that stuff though, so at least thankfully we got ourselves this particular treasure, so I don't think it will actually get anything from that, which I highly doubt it won't, so that's fine, because obviously the next level we're going to be hitting to next is the Peaceful Village, so that's as far as I can usually try to able to go through next, so, except this time we're not going to be experiencing this stage in daytime now, so because of that though, everything else goes all like bright and cheery, and pretty much everything for the most part, so but anyway, let's climb up in a ladder, and hopefully we'll hop onto that snake's head. And I think if we enter this pipe, which is essentially the rooftop, and yeah, I was thinking about that particular section over here. So yeah, we're gonna have to let that particular enemy over there can able to feed me the donut. So that way I can able to break through here. And oh, okay, is that enough? Ah, I was literally like 2 blocks left. I was literally so close to able to actually just well, go all the way down there. Although I get the feeling that we might able to actually stumble across the red key somewhere. So but yeah, you get the idea about that. So anyway, let's just go ahead and continue and head back down to the same spot again. So of course we still need a donut to able to actually just, well, trying to eat it, and I think this is what I was thinking of anyway, because I see the sparkles. Yep, there's the red key just over there. So yeah, it's pretty easy when you're able to actually try to find it. So at least it's not too shabby though. So anyway, so now we need to find the red chest, which I get the feeling the red chest is going to be well, unfortunately we don't have the high jump ability just yet though, because yeah, unlike, you know, Wario Land 2, that you unlock that from the get-go, whilst in here though, that you have to unlock it in the future, like, levels and such, so but anyway, let's see what's in here, although besides just a random springy hammer robot, which we're not going to able to investigate that anytime soon, because, well, let's just say, what's the point of able to check in there in the first place? But anyway, actually talking for that subject for that matter, is the fact that, usually generally speaking, is the fact that, oh yeah, there's the red chest over there. And what we're supposed to do here, in order to able to go there, is that we need to jump until that enemy decides to able to go for that next elevation level. And because of that though, once you accomplish that, you go back up there and eat the donut again, and hopefully you would able to demolish those donut looking blocks. And eventually, you would able to lose weight, and once you're done, then you would able to finally get yourselves the red treasure chest. I almost thought to myself about the fact that I was going to able to ground pound, but it wasn't, so there's a good thing I did manage to think carefully on that part, so it appears to be we stumbled across a book of any sorts, to be more specifically a blue book, so in fact, I wonder what this actually reads, the actual artifacts. Oh right, it's the actual, the wand that we can able to just cause an ice rod to frozen up the actual water. What is this? It's like a very similar aspect as in A Link to the Past. It could be one of those potentials, but hey, at least that's something. And this will actually allows me to able to actually access to the next level on the east section, which appears to be a frigid sea. So because of that, expecting this is actually the Ice Fiend level. So this means ice physics and also just, well, I don't think the cold water will harm me, so I think I might be okay with this. So we can expect we can able to actually just to deal with the forms of ice physics in mind. So anyway, so for the most part, the gray key is not too bad to able to find. Well, except the fact that we have to stumble across, you know, too many snowy teddy bears and all that stuff though, or snowy bears, whatever you to be more specifically you want to call them. But usually that's as far as I can usually just try to able to noting for that part. And of course we can't do anything about this too much, well, aside from the fact that we do need to aim for, you know, the gray chest, which I think the gray chest is actually not too far. So because of that, yeah, we've completed that at least. So And by the way, there is something all the way to the right over there, which I don't think we'll get to now in a moment, because we got ourselves another power-up. So, in this case, we have ourselves a spiked helmet. I mean, it's kind of similar to the ones that when Super Mario Maker managed to able to introduce that. And basically what this does is that this allows you to now finally able to jump on these blocks, very similar to the forms of Wario Land 2. In this case, we're heading back into a town in chaos, and desert ruins too. So hopefully we would able to actually show those levels again, except the fact that we're going to be taking a different route. So in this case, let's head over to a town in chaos. Now, before we get into this, however though, there's actually that trick to this though. As you can tell, we're on daytime. However though, if we go back to the map, and then basically, while the game actually saves, basically I can able to let the actual daytime change it to nighttime, because yes, nighttime is required, by the way, in order to able to go and after, trying to go after the next chest. And what do I mean by that? Well, if we managed able to go ahead and, actually, is there a switch somewhere? Because I know for the fact that it has been like, a couple of weeks ago since I actually last touched this game, so forgive me if I actually just somehow managed to get my fake memories on this though. But regardless of such though, I can at least manage able to know where I was going to be going. So in this case, let's hit in here, and basically that we need to just go into here, ignore that gray key because we already done that, and yeah, this is what I mean. We do need to acquire the nighttime time will actually activate, because, well, basically that's how you're normally going to be able to discover that. Whenever you're trying to able to stumble across more stuff in this place, if you're trying to able to do this on nighttime, because although there might be some scenarios in daytime, which we'll point it out until later on. But for now on, we'll hit into this particular level again, except on daytime for the second time. So, yeah, everything's all comes in together, so... Now, I suppose another thing I should probably explain about this as well is that I'm pretty sure that Ray the Flying Squirrel, that he's pretty much going to be able to actually go out in some places, and potentially he might go for a shopping trip or something like that. Or maybe because of how the fact that, well, I said this before, Sonic Colors Ultimate now finally comes out on modern consoles, so at least expecting I was going to be, super excited until that particular, Sonic Colors Ultimate finally arrived to ours, so even then we could possibly potentially try to do a Let's Play of the game, if possible. But anyways, let's hit in here, and basically we need to able to just become Zombie Wario in order to clear for those floors. And basically, if we head out to this little window, oh, what do we have here? Oh, it's that familiar rabbit. Although, technically speaking, this is actually a kind of a different rabbit name, which, if you think there was actually Dunk again, but it turns out it's actually a completely different character. To be more specifically, his name is Shoot, which is basically, it kind of feels like Dunk's brother. So, I'm guessing he's probably like, you killed my brother, and I will able to actually have a better vendetta against you. So, basically, remember in the forms of Wario Land 2, that basically that you have to compete against with Dunk in the forms of in Wario Land 2 for able to compete in a basketball game. Whilst in here this time around though, when you try to compete against with Shoot, basically it's the fact that we're actually going to be competing in football, specifically soccer or football, whatever it to be more specifically, or specifically for that matter, it's like PK shootouts, so it's meaning like penalty shootouts. So, and just like in the forms of in a basketball boss fight, ever since in the forms of in Wario Land 2, and like you're gonna have to able to once again retain 3 points and all that stuff. However, there's one thing I have to admit though right away, is the fact that this boss fight is a bit difficult compared to the forms of how it does it on Wario Land 2 counterparts, because obviously the most annoying thing is for this boss fight to me though, it's like a Koopa Troopa companion, and as a result though, he loves to defend the actual goalie for Shoot. So because of that though, it's kind of annoying, but regardless of everything else though, is that when Shoot managed to got about 3 points, you obviously get kicked out, and of course, much like the forms of Dunk from Wario Land 2, that if you manage to able to actually get involved with that particular ball form, basically that you weren't able to actually try to run away. So, yeah, I think it's totally gonna be, like, impossible to complete this time around, or impossible to do this easily, because, again, the goalie right there on the far right is always kind of, like, broken to me. Although, because of that, though, he pretty much knows what he's doing. Although I was gonna able to try and distract that goalie, but most of the time, I just always keep on getting myself some pretty unfortunate moments whenever you're trying to shoot. So, now of course you can't pick it up, because obviously football is illegal to pick up the football during a match. So, that makes sense, because obviously it's all about using your foot by able to kicking the ball. Or soccer if you lived in America. So, either way though, it knows what it stands out to be, so... Oh, and then also another thing is worth noting for, that the reason why this boss fight might be a bit difficult is because it might take way too long. But thankfully, I managed able to score my second goal, although I don't think it's actually going at a fast music speed this time around, compared to the forms of the basketball kind of like dunk boss fight from Wario Land 2. But that's okay, because I somehow win! I am a football champion! So, farewell, shoot! And then you will see your brother until from the depth of the existence. But anyway, there's a red chest there, but we still need able to get ourselves the red key in order able to actually just to, well, finish this particular red chest to run through. So because of that, sometimes it might take a bit of while to able to do a lot of exploration, but especially noticeable about the fact that sometimes there's going to be filled to the brim with those zombie-like enemies in order able to stumble across the actual, like... Well, you know what I'm saying. So, either way though, let's just go ahead and use this little quadrant thing right there to able to actually act out as, like, you know, the platform. So, yeah, it's kind of a similar object as the ones in Wario Land 2. So, because of that, except the fact that it's now, you know, only being playable on, you know, Game Boy Color, whilst, you know, unlike in Wario Land 2, there are two different versions. One for the original Game Boy, which actually contains not much color, unless if you ever play it on the Super Game Boy and stuff like that. Whilst new forms have been in a Game Boy Color version does have, you know, full color, and also the forms of specific details that was actually, you know what I mean, full color in general. So, oh, I hate these guys. I hate these guys in the ceiling in this game specifically because they are so flipping unpredictable. And as a result though, I just keep on getting myself butt kicked with these guys super easily. But that'll be for likely until the later levels that those guys will be annoying. Well, not so bad on these guys there, but it's just the ones in the ceiling that I've already mentioned about this quite a few times with noting for. Oh man, it gets really ridiculous. Especially noticeable with these projectiles are super unpredictable. So anyways, let's head back into the same room, filled to the brim with zombies and everything, and as usual, it's probably best to able to crouch until... Okay, I think that works. Yeah, I think it does work, because obviously, since I did manage to become zombie Wario as soon as we were able to enter in the same room as when we, thankfully the scores doesn't reset, so it just managed to able to make the boss defeat, so... Anyway, so that's pretty much about it for the red chest. So, top notch and a pretty good run, despite how long it will take for that boss fight. So, and this will pretty much gives us a second music box. So, we actually got 2 so far out of 5. So, yeah, only 3 more music boxes to go until we're able to actually just, well, go back to the real world. So, yeah, everything's all come together, all fun and dandy and everything. So, anyway, I think this will give us the ability to go to Bank of the Wild River and the Tidal Coast. So, yeah, the 2 levels that we can only go into at the moment. So, yeah, I think we should probably go in there right now. So, because of that though, just to double check on certain levels that we can able to check out. So, anyways, Bank of the Wild River, and right off the bat, the grey chest is already at the beginning of the level, so yeah, pretty easy to able to spot that. Although, we still need able to get the grey key until we're able to actually, like, well, you know what I mean, trying to able to actually get something out of that chest, so... I'm curious to know about the fact that how many treasure chests that we might able to consider trying to obtain until in the future videos, because, well, as I mentioned this before, that we actually just managed to got about 14 treasures so far in this game, in the first part, so yeah, that's as far as I can usually try to explain about that, so anyways, let's bust out these blocks until we're able to not only to scale ourselves the progression, but also just trying to able to grab, or obtain, rather, some more coins and all that stuff, in case of the forms of gold sections. So, anyways, let's grab down these guys until we're able to, well, you know what I'm saying. So, anyway, let's go here, and, oh jeez, don't you dare give me a knockback, I swear. I swear to Christ, don't even give me a knockback, just please don't. Anyway, so we've got the grey key, and we need to head back by simply swimming through these rapids. And here's the thing, we need to watch out for these little pokey little stuff. And because of that, though, if you actually get involved with getting poked by these guys, basically you're forced to go all the way back up. So, and there's not much anything else to, like, worth noting for. I have no idea why I'm saying things like that, weirdly enough. But anyway, we've actually made it to the grey chest, so nicely done, right there. And this will give us some sort of like a Neptune's spatula of any sort, or a Neptune's, like, I don't know what you would call that, because I know it has been quite a few whiles since I actually known about SpongeBob. But anyway, the tidal coast. So yeah, let's see how this level actually brings out to be. So and of course that this is all nighttime, so this meaning about the fact that we could potentially try to do some stuff in there, but of course we can't do it in here, just because the blocks are actually rock solid. So we'll just skip that for now, and yeah, we'll double check in this room. And this will actually require later on. Oh god, it's that section over there. We'll talk more about that whenever we're able to get something out of it, if we manage to able to continue exploring. So, but for the time being, we're focusing on the forms of the grey treasure chest as to be expected. So let's go for Spring Wario, or should I call it Bouncy Wario, just because he's constantly bouncing the whole way through. So yeah, that pretty much you can able to expect. So, which kind of reminds me of Tigger. Which, speaking of Tigger, that this game came out the same year as when the Tigger movie came out in 2000, along with the forms of Chicken Run, along with the Road to El Dorado, and especially notable with The Emperor's New Groove, and potentially speaking when it comes to games also came out during 2000, like for instance Mario Party 3 in Japan, and Mario Party 2 in the English countries, and I believe also Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards, and also, what else is there? Oh yeah, Sonic Shuffle, well, specifically in Japan and North America, whilst new forms of in my country in Europe only came out in 2001, which, well, it was alright for me, well, despite the fact that it came out the same year as Tom and Jerry The Magic Ring came out in 2001, which, I don't know about you, but I'm still not a big fan of that film, due to the forms of how I found it a bit, well, boring and repetitive, unlike any forms of the Tom and Jerry cartoons, because I honestly think the cartoons is actually one of the best, to me though anyway. So anyways, and it looks like we got ourselves another book, but except this time it's the yellow book. And this will pretty much guarantee to able to give us the ability to, well, finally use the actual Neptune's spatula of any sorts to, well, trying to able to unlock the next level, which is the Steep Cannon, or Canyon, whatever you want to be more precise with. I keep thinking about the cannon item from the Mario games. But anyway, I think we should probably do one more level for this point today, and because of that, we'll head over to the Steep Canyon for the last for this video, so but we still got more things to come over for the sake of the forms of likely continue exploring for this game, so, but it will take a while though, so, anyways, let's, punch those little, blocks, or specifically these little, breakable walls to progress, so, darn it, that's not gonna help, especially because if I caught in the fire, and plus I'm far lacking with high jump ability, and because of that, I have useless powers at the moment. Well, good news is that we still managed to get ourselves the ground pound, along with learning to swim and also just break blocks from above with Wario's head. So, and I should probably point things out as well is the fact that with the forms of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, well, specifically Season 2 of the show, basically, until eventually in the next few days, that certain episodes will be 10-year anniversary for certain episodes, mainly for like the return of Harmony, both parts 1 and 2, and as well as the forms of, well, to be more specifically, as well as Lesson 0 and Lunar Eclipsed, and even the other episodes like the Cutie Parks and another episode that I keep forgot about, because I know it has been such a long while since I actually did manage to able to watch the show, because obviously until by that time, that we only got about 17 days to go until specifically My Little Pony, the new generation, or should I call it My Little Pony, a new generation. There we go, that's a bit better for making it as a proper title for the film. It's gonna come out on Netflix, so yeah, that should be interesting to say the least. In fact, I think Jewel might able to actually mention more about it until when she goes back on to Mario Party 6. Oh, speaking of Mario Party 6, that Let's Play has been up and running so far, which so far that Jewel did manage to able to tackle for the first board in Mario Party 6. And she actually did pretty good at it though. Especially noticeable about the fact though that we've managed able to get started with probably my second favorite Mario Party game, or something like that. But anyway, actually, kind of thinking about it, well, specifically the Return of Harmony Part 1 for the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic episode on Season 2, potentially speaking until 10 days time, that will be 10 years old by then, so. And as you can see, we got ourselves another power-up, which meaning we can now finally pick up enemies and even throw what direction you're able to aim for. So because of that, that'll be pretty useful though until the later levels. So we can probably go back into. So, and you can also just manage to build the actual charge power as well. You can only do these small types of enemies. So in this case, we're going back into the Tidal Coast and the Frigid Sea. So oh, and also, the Big Bridge. Okay, so 3 levels we can able to revisit in. So, yeah, I think we should probably end things off here. So join me next time on Let's Play Wario Land 3. And it's the fact that we're heading back onto the previous levels to do some more stuff. So I'll see you guys on Thursday. Later, fellas.